Welcome Lund loyalists to John Lund Unleashed. Those watching on YouTube, on the John Lund Unleashed and Bay Area Sports Collective channels. Viewers on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and Lundos listening to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. John Lund Unleashed, brought to you by 𝐬𝐝𝐿 Sports Medicine. Got pain? Check out our revolutionary stem cell treatments. And guys, if low T is bringing you down, 𝐬𝐝𝐿 Sports Medicine can put you back in the game. Now all juiced up and ready to go, here's John.
I am juiced up and ready to go, and that's the guy. Everybody's talking about it. I was looking at 49ers content right before I came on the show, and everybody's talking about CJ West. I was standing right there, and unfortunately, they made us turn off our cameras right before they started doing the one-on-ones. This dude was unbelievable. He even took out Dominic Cooney. That is the story of the day. That dude right there, CJ West. I don't know if he's saying that was like 4 bodies on the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like 4 offensive linemen that he took out today. I don't know what the case may be, but you'll hear Robert Saleh talk about him. You'll hear Robert Saleh in the post-first day of pads talk about MYKEL Williams. And when you're standing up close to MYKEL Williams, he is a monstrous kind of a guy. So it's just one day, but for one day, you've got to be encouraged by the young defensive lineman, although really nice. There are 4 or 5 catches today in the 11-on-11 drills, which they don't let us tape. But then 49ers Productions have cameras out there, and they allow. And so I grabbed a couple of those that you can see as well, and I just laugh. And I'll tell you something, when I was coming home from Santa Clara today in 49ers HQ, I was laughing because I always flip around to hear what other teams are talking about. And so I listen to a lot of Arizona radio because I want to hear what's going on with the Cardinals in LA, and I want to hear what's going on with the Rams in Seattle, and hear about what's going on with the Seahawks. And I popped into Seattle, and I was just cracking up because if you're not in the market, you don't understand the team completely. So anyway, we'll get into a lot of things like that. It is episode 205, and it is very, very simple. It is a review of camp for pads day number 1. Now, we'll make this quick because it's about 6:15 Pacific right now if you're watching live. If you're not, you can put those comments underneath. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, John Lund Unleashed. We're on only John Lund Unleashed on YouTube and X. So if you're watching on X, hello. At John Lund Radio. I'm going to put up some John Lund Radio stuff because I'm going to play things for you from camp. Like I told you, I've been obsessed watching the defensive line. So I did a lot of defensive line stuff today that I grabbed. And because of copyright and YouTube and everything, the music that they play, which, and you can hear Chris Kuceric, the defensive line, yelling and stuff. YouTube, if you play the music behind it, they flag it and they get all pissed, and then they block your video, and later on you gotta remove it anyway. So I don't play the music. If you go to at John Lund Radio, I'll post these things with the music behind them, and it kind of gives it a different kind of a vibe, especially when MYKEL Williams is kind of dancing around. You get the vibe. So I'll post those at John Lund Radio on X right after the show. But we got a lot of stuff today. We got some training camp stuff, and I'll tell you about the one-on-ones. And like I said, right before they're literally they're getting ready, they're lining up, and they went, okay, cameras off. And we're like, because we wanted to get that stuff. But CJ West was just a mass, a bowling ball, a Tasmanian devil. He was awesome. And I'll just have to tell you about it. And you build on those kind of things, and we'll see it in the games, hopefully. But he was awesome. And he's built low to the ground, so he doesn't have to, whereas somebody like Alfred Collins is 6'5", and he has to get his pad level down, and it's going to be a complete fight like it was for JAUAN Kinlaw. And I'm not saying he can't be better than JAUAN Kinlaw. It's just when you're 6'5" and playing on the interior, that's the first thing you got to do. You can't just stand up, expose your chest, and get pushed back. You've got to stay down low. And CJ West is 6'1", and they say he's 317. He's got to be bigger than that. I mean, he's really tough to contain. But anyway, we'll get into everything today. Episode 205, first day in pads, as you look at the chalkboard there. The Tasmanian devil that was CJ West. MYKEL Williams was rushing inside and outside. That is going to be pretty cool if he can accomplish that, because they can get that NASCAR package, and that's right with Huff. You forget about Bryce Huff, that they got him from Philadelphia after a disappointing year. And remember, the year before he was in Saleh's defense, and he got 10 sacks with the Jets. He screams off the edge. So they're going to have a lot of different looks for that defensive line. Defensively, Winters, who we were hearing before pads, he got a deflection for what may have been a pick six. I mean, it was, because you're not tackling anybody. You're not tackling anybody to the ground, even if you have pads on. We were wondering about Upton Stout. And again, he made a play today against Ricky Pearsall on the sideline. We'll talk more about that, but he'd been really flashing in shorts. He did it again. and he could win that nickel job. Bad news, JAUAN Jennings out. Remember, heel yesterday. I told you, Kyle was kind of short in that response, and I'm like, that's not good. We'll talk about that. Brock was hot. New dad, Brock. The reason he missed that camp, I told you this morning, that one day he had his wife, Jenna, had a daughter, Millie Jolene Purdy. She's going to fit right into Nashville. Millie Jolene. And they live in Nashville, so she's going to fit right in there. And one guy I've been watching, and I was kind of like, well, he hasn't really been flashing, and he looked great in shorts, and they could really use the guy. That would be the rookie from Ole Miss, Jordan Watkins, 4.37 speed. And I watched him a lot, even when the ball didn't go to him today. He is cat quick off the line. He is hard to jam at the line. And then when he was running some crossing routes, I thought they missed him a couple of times. He is fast. He's hard to cover with that speed. So all of a sudden, he's jetting off the line. He's running quick crossers. He's going to be a tough guy. Kansas City uses those with some of their speedier guys. Xavier Worthy, think about that. He is tough to cover across the field. And I thought he had some nice releases today off the line. So not a lot of people were talking about him, but I thought it was nice. And then catches Gage, CMC. Of course, Demarcus Robinson, who's been doing it the entire camp. I thought the rookie, James from Oregon, had a nice catch. Kittle down the sideline, and he just took it all the way to the end zone. I don't know if he would have scored in a normal game, but it was pretty nice from Purdy to Kittle. So a lot of good things from the first day in pads, and I'll try to get you caught up on everything. Questions, comments, thoughts, come over to the chat room. If you're watching on X today, you got any questions about first day in pads today, I'll try to do the best I can. Yes, I didn't wear a hat. Yes, my face is really this red because I'm an idiot. Good morning or good afternoon, Chris. It's good to see you. Joy is here today. And again, we got to be out of here by 6:45 because Carson Whisenhunt with his first start for the Giants, and I want to see that. He wears 88. Joshua, it's good to see you, my friend. You tripping is here. Tommy, we got lots of people in the room again. Any questions about camp today? Any question about the Niners? I will be more than happy to get to. Martin is here today. It is great to see you, my friend. Thanks, Martin. I appreciate it. I loved being there for many, many years. You're right. We were hearing the same things about Winters, and I was down there a lot. And you know what? I think he has matured. I'm going to say that last year he would get to the ball and he would panic. It's not seeming like that last year, and he is always around the ball. So hopefully this year he kind of breaks down and makes those plays. He was there last year. He just kind of got panicky when he got there. He missed a lot of tackles, wasn't in control. He seems to be doing a lot better job. But again, we are very early in camp, so there's no doubt about it. So anyway, yeah, 88 is a good number. So the first in Giants history, by the way, Chris. So anyway, questions, comments, thoughts. If you are watching later, put them right underneath the show here, and I will answer them later. And always a good place to hit me up for questions, comments, or thoughts is on X at John Lund Radio. All right, let's get to it. I'm going to show you right here in this first clip. First you'll see 99, and that is CJ West, who dominated today, and then you're going to see the girth of Alfred Collins. So they go back to back on the drills here. And again, if you want to hear the music and Chris Kusarek, the D-line coach, yelling at them, go to John Lund Radio on X, and you can hear the whole thing. Here they will block my video because again, you can put this in your mind or play it as we're talking. This is Smells Like Teen Spirit, but I can't play it for you, but you can just see it. So here's CJ West followed by Alfred Collins. So you can see there, the whole D-line group, they're in full pads. And right after this is when they get into the pads. But you can see how low and wide CJ West is. Now, Kasarek's the guy in the backwards cap. He's the guy always screaming in their ear hole right before they're going. Smells Like Teen Spirit is rocking. Lots of fans out. And he stands up just a little bit. But when he was in the one-on-one drills, CJ West there, 99, just straight in. Now look at the difference in size of Collins. But if you look at Collins, and he was doing this in the drills, he stands straight up and exposes his chest. He's got to stay low and drive through. And I'm sure that's what Kusarek is yelling at him right there. Don't stand up. And he did a better job of it right there in that drill. But he's got to stay lower to the ground. In the drills against the offensive linemen, he didn't always do that. And that was something that was a problem for Javon Kinlaw. But he's just so damn big at 6'5", nearly 6'6". It's just going to kind of take him a minute. So there's CJ West followed by Alfred Collins. And again, they did the sleds. I was just over there the whole time. They ran the hoop and pads today. And I would love to show you what they did, like I said, in the one-on-ones, but literally as they were lining up, they're like, no more. And we're like, oh, So they didn't allow that. And again, another thing I'm going to post up there is see how big MYKEL Williams is? I told you, I think he's Alden Smith body type. So he was rushing outside and inside, but you see the length, the size, the legs, the arms, the length of the arms. There he is. There's some good music playing, I promise you. He's enjoying it the first day in pads. There's Robert Beal next to him. Beal's not small. I mean, you can see he's as big as some interior defensive linemen, and he's on the edge. He's going to be a problem. He's still got to work on some pass rush moves. He's pretty raw out there, as you can kind of tell. He doesn't have a whole lot of different moves, but you can just tell. I mean, he is just I want to play this back a little bit. I want to have him walk over again like that. I mean, you can see. I mean, that's Kevin Givens next to him. Givens isn't tall, but he's probably 285. I mean, he's just built. Long arms, big legs. It's a big dude, and he is grooving. So again, I'll post those, and it'll kind of make sense more of the music. Beal's I think Beal's 6'3", 260, I think. So you got some big boys, and he is just long, man. So he's going to be a problem for some teams. So the D-line, the young guys today, especially Williams and West, I can't tell you how good of a day that CJ West had. Let me illustrate it for you. So it depends. We're watching and we're saying, okay, it depends on who they're going against. So he's going against some guys who are going to be backups. He's going against a couple guys who are not going to be NFL players, maybe going to be in a practice squad. But here's where it really stood out to me. So I can't remember who the first guy who went up against Dominic Pooney was in pads today, but they might have got 6 inches, and it was just like hitting a brick wall. And Pooney almost looked bored. All right, just stoned him. That's it, done. And then CJ West came around, and he smoked him. I mean, he just smoked him. He went right. What he does is he's so low to the ground, stays low, and he is so strong, and he just doesn't stop. It's kind of like a running back who doesn't stop his legs, doesn't stop his arms, and he's a whirling dervish. He is a Tasmanian devil. He's spinning. He's moving. He's not stopping his legs. You got to bring your lunch, man. That's what he does. He is a nonstop motor guy. And like I said, I don't know that he's 317. I think he's more like 330, but he's 6'1". He's built low to the ground. He's not going to stop. And everybody that lined up against CJ West in the one-on-one drills, in other words, they bring the offensive lineman over, and the interior guys go against the interior guys, the outside guys go against the outside guys. So tackles go against edges, guard centers go against interior, and he's just stronger than anybody. At least he looked like it today. And if he got stoned on the first time, he just kept going. And it was really impressive. So that's the first time I've really seen, because, you see him in drills like I just showed you. And again, we can't film when they tell us to turn them off. That was it. I thought we'd be able to see the one-on-ones, because when it turns into 11 on 11, then they start running plays and they don't want us to film that. But he was incredibly impressive. And then MYKEL Williams on the outside, Trent Williams. And by the way, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa went against each other once. That one went to Trent, but again, who knows if they got more opportunities. They didn't do a ton of reps, those guys. Bosa and Williams didn't do a ton of reps. They don't need to. Williams, here's what's impressive about MYKEL Williams. Did a couple of reps on the outside, did fine, and then they moved him to the inside. And that's what's going to be really cool is, so we've talked about this before. You got your ones, you got your twos, but then they have what the Niners call their turbo package. So if anybody talk about the turbo package for the Niners, that's their pass rushing package. So now here comes 47 Bryce Huff on the outside. You move MYKEL Williams to the inside. You just saw what his size looks like. Bosa's on one edge, and Bosa could even move inside. They may move him around where he can look at matchups like Aaron Donald used to do, or certain guys in this league do. Mack will do it. Khalil Mack will do it sometimes. Okay, what's the matchup we can hunt on the offensive line? And they can move a guy inside over a guard. They'll do that with Williams. He's big enough. They'll bring Huff to the outside. They'll have Bosa to the outside, and I'm not sure who the other defensive tackle is going to be. They're kind of still figuring that out. So that's going to be kind of the NASCAR package. And he held his own. MYKEL Williams had a couple of rushes on the interior, more than held his own. Again, big guy at 6'5", so he's got the height. He's got to get his pads down. Alfred Collins, a couple of times, bull rushed guys back, but then at a couple of times, again, stands up, exposes the chest, which means they can just push you back. The offensive guard just gets a hold of you and pushes you back. So that happened a couple of times too, as big as Collins is. But by and large, Robert Saleh, very happy about his defensive line. In fact, let me give you a little Robert Saleh on his defensive line. This is what he said about the line, mentions about everybody, and says that MYKEL Williams is going to be a hell of a player. This was Saleh after today's first practice in pads.
MYKEL is he's going to be a hell of a football player. And Nick Martin's doing a really nice job. Upton's doing a nice job. There's some young guys. 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭 is doing a really nice job. They're all the way across the board. 𝐷LINE, he's getting his legs underneath him. Alfred Collins, you know, they didn't get any OTA reps, so they're coming along. But it's a promising group. It's exciting to work with those guys. They're sponges. Every day is something new, and you know, so they're doing a very nice job.
So yeah, I thought the entire defensive line, and like I said, I have a bit of an obsession with the defensive line. Every day I go down there, and that's the first place I go. Everybody else is shooting Brock and everything, and it's like I don't really have a question about Brock. Everybody's shooting McCaffrey, and I don't have any question about McCaffrey. McCaffrey is healthy. McCaffrey looks awesome. I'm going to show you a catch he made today. He's incredible. George Kittle is George Kittle. I want to see the guys in the trenches. That's where the game is won and lost. That's where the Niners kind of took a break for a minute and weren't going after defensive and offensive linemen. That's where they had their success. That's where the game's won and lost. The Eagles just won a Super Bowl focusing on offensive and defensive line. The Niners have got to get back to that. They've got a ton of skill position guys, especially when they're healthy, and I think they're going to be fine in that regard. I think they're going to score a bunch of points. To me, the Niners season depends on defensively what they're going to do, but specifically how their defensive line is going to perform. When they are good, it's about the defensive line. And I think some people are forgetting about how good Bryce Huff was in this defense 2 years ago. One guy I forgot, and I have on the chalkboard there, is Huff's speed. I've got down there. Bryce Huff off the edge, guys just can't even get out of their stance. I told you a couple of days ago, Trent Williams, who, again, it's not like Trent's a rookie. He's 37, and he's not going to go balls out in camp. But there were a couple of times where Trent didn't get out of his stance. And I'm not saying that because Trent is bad all of a sudden at 37. He's not. But he's not going to go balls out. Whereas Bryce Huff right now is like, let's go. And in drills, in one-on-ones today, in 11-on-11s for the last couple of days, his speed just jumps off the field. When you watch it, you're like, damn, I forgot about 47. Because 47 is a number that like rookies or free agents might wear, and sometimes you forget. And you're like, oh yeah, 47 is Bryce Huff. So he's really fast. So there's a real opportunity there if these guys can push that pocket the way they look like they can, like West did today, and Collins can if he can keep those pads down. And all of a sudden you see MYKEL Williams sometimes and go, man, this guy's potential is through the roof. And all of a sudden you bring in 47, and now you start getting a little bit excited because now that makes everybody better, makes the guys on the back end better. This young secondary that I'm a little bit concerned about. And then I start seeing D. Winters, who had a pick off of a deflection today, and he brought it back for a touchdown. Again, that's all training camp stuff. Probably would have got tackled. But look, he made a play. He's around the ball a lot. He's having a good training camp. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing, even though it's early, but he's having a good training camp. I agree with the person who said we heard that last year, and you're right. He was around the ball a lot early in the season, and he just didn't break down and make the plays. I think a year in, I think he's going to make those plays this year. But there is some, as you heard Robert Saleh say right there, there's some depth now. If he doesn't make those plays, Nick Martin is here. He's a really good athlete, but he's not real big, and he's going to have to be protected by those big defensive linemen that we're talking about. Luke Gifford is here, a guy that came from Tennessee. He's mostly a special teams guy, but he's a veteran, and they've been playing him between the first and second team. So there's another guy if it doesn't get done, then if Winters doesn't get it done, there's another guy. So I'm not overly excited about him, but there's another guy at least who's a veteran who might be able to fill in if Winters doesn't do it, kind of like last year. So there's a little bit of depth there. So defensively, very encouraged. In fact, let me play one more. This is Robert Saleh talking about CJ West, who by far was the star of the defensive line today.
A little fire hydrant, right? I mean, he's he's like a little fire hydrant, right? I mean, he's powerful. He's got heavy hands. He's gonna be fine. You know, he's like a lot of rookies. There's so many things that they're learning, that especially on the interior of the D-line. It's a game within a game, and the first thing they learn is pocket push, and then they learn how to capture an edge and rush from there. So I wasn't there. I heard he did a really nice job over there, but I'm excited to get to the tape to see it.
Yeah, Robert, I'll save you the time. He was really good. I mean, he was like, everybody was looking at each other like, are you kidding me? Like 99, because we've all been looking at MYKEL Williams. We've all been looking at Alfred Collins, the first two picks. Collins is such a monster of a man that it's just fun to watch him hit the sleds and everything because he's so powerful. Williams is kind of a freak in terms of the way that he looks, and he's the first round pick, so it's obvious. But man, West just really stood out today. So that's kind of what we were looking at today. Couple of things as I see some people asking some questions here. By the way, Solid did mention you're talking about 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭, the safety out of Kansas State. Really good safety, really good athlete. He's starting to get in there. You're kind of swimming a little bit as a rookie, and Solid did mention that. The other day at camp, he mentioned about every safety. The one thing I'll say about 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭 is there is no set safeties, even though Brown right now and another guy who spoke today, Jason Pinnock, who came over from the Giants, and Solid Nose from the Jets. So there is a bit of an advantage there with Pinnock. He's a really good special teams player. Pro Football Focus-wise, if you believe that, he had a really bad pass defense grade last year, did Pinnock. But right now, with obviously an injury in the secondary right now, which we'll see how that's going to play out. But Pinnock right now and Brown are going to be Brown are going to be your two safeties. But by no means, Thang Dang, is that set in stone. 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭 could absolutely get that spot. But right now, that's what the safeties look like. Grant, who has been a special teamer his whole career, and actually when he came out, I thought Grant might have a chance to be a decent player, but in Atlanta, he was just a special teams player only. He didn't really get on the field at all. But yeah, I think that there is complete openness as far as the jobs in the safety position. Evan Anderson's a badass, by the way. Evan mentioned Evan Anderson. He came on, and at times, he was the guy with the big helmet on because they all wear those in practice, but Evan Anderson was wearing them in a game. Evan Anderson's a massive dude, and I think he can provide some depth. And the other thing, and I've said this in all of the camp practices so far, it's very obvious what the 49ers are doing. They have 3 monster body defensive tackles, West being one, Collins being another. So they've got 3, and now Anderson makes 4. They have 4 really big defensive tackles. And I think that what they want to do is they want to push pocket. They want to get those fast guys with Huff and now Bosa, that type of speed on the outside. They want to push pocket, stop run first, get in long downs, push pocket inside, force quarterback out, and then the speed of Bosa and Huff on the outside and get to the quarterback. They just weren't doing that enough, haven't been doing that enough over the last couple of years, haven't stopped the run enough, and they want these big dudes to stuff run and more so push pocket. And when you're seeing these drills, they're just upfield. They want these dudes to crush the pocket, and they're getting bigger defensive tackles, and I think that's a philosophical change with the Niners. And you mentioned Anderson. Anderson's one of those guys who can provide that as well. So they want a lot of that. And like I said, I'm just obsessively looking at the defensive line. So defensive-wise, and let me just go down because I wanted to start with the defensive line. So West, the Tasmanian Devil. Williams, inside, outside. You just heard Robert Solid just flat out say it. He said he's going to be a hell of a football player, and he looks it. And him going inside, outside looked really good today. Huff's speed really steps out. Winners, like I said, I can understand if you're skeptical. I'm just reporting what I'm seeing, which is he's always around the ball. He has made a lot of plays. He's had 2 interceptions in camp so far. One he absolutely would have taken back to the house before they were in pads. Today he got one off a deflection, but you're just always around the ball. Upton Stout is really interesting because right now, especially with Renardo Green being out, you've got on one side Demo Lenore, who, by the way, took down Guerendo, which in a lot of camps would have been a fight. Guerendo came around the right side today. Demo Lenore went high on him and just, the play just stopped. And we were all kind of tensely looking at it like, is there going to be a fight? Is there going to be a fight? There wasn't. But it just shows the aggressiveness. Like, Demo's ready, man. So Demo took him down. But on that other side, hopefully Renardo Green gets back. If you were with us last night, we did the recap. Kyle Shanahan said 2 weeks, which are 2 weeks before. So that means August 16th against the Raiders. He's going to be back for that week, hopefully for that week of practices against the Raiders. Then that game, August 16th. Well, that's 3 weeks before the opener at Seattle. So he should be back in plenty of time. So then who's in the slot? Upton Stout, when they weren't in pads yet, was making play after play after play after play after play. The only thing he'd really done wrong in camp, he had a ball go right through him, and he was right there for it, missed the interception, made a completion, but he's been everywhere. And then today he came up. He was right in position as far as making plays and pads. He's not afraid, even though he's about 5'8", 185. So again, I keep saying this, K'Waun Williams, it reminds me of K'Waun Williams. He's just not afraid. And that was a big thing. And I think it was a big test today. But he made a hell of a play. And I just happened to be watching Ricky Pearsall on the slot. It was right on the side it was on. And Pearsall's in the slot, makes a great cut. Ricky runs great routes, makes a great cut to the outside. And I think that's a completion all the way. And Stout comes from behind it. And again, at his 5'8" frame, comes up, goes over Pearsall and tips the ball away. Makes a hell of a play and kind of some oohs and ahs with it. So Stout makes another play. And again, Saleh mentions him. Kyle had mentioned him, I think, on the first day of camp, that he had been, he's one of those guys that's always around the ball. So he's kind of checking off the boxes. You're going, okay, dude is from a small school. He's 5'8", 185. He's going to be playing in the slot. JSN in Seattle. They're going to be playing Cooper Kupp there. You know that Arizona, they'll probably put some size in there. You think about what the Rams could possibly do. Puka Nacua could play in the slot. He's a physical receiver. So there's going to be teams who are going to look at the Niners and say, you're going to put a 5'8", 185 small college guy in the slot? Really? All right. And they're going to test him. I mean, right away, they're going to test a rookie anyway, but especially a guy with that kind of size. But he keeps checking off the boxes in camp, and at some point you're going to go, that's going to be our guy. And you're going to move, Demo's going to be a full-time outside guy. I think Renardo's going to have plenty of time to get back in that spot. Your only other guy who possibly could be in that, and he's just playing purely outside, is Trey Brown, who they got from Seattle. He has been injured a lot in Seattle, but look, he's not injured now. So he hasn't seen a lot of time in the slot. He's been an outside guy in the left side. Backing up Demo, I would imagine he might go over to the right side a little bit because Renardo's out. Eli Apple, we'll see if he's just a camp body or not. I think that'll depend on how fast Renardo Green comes back. This guy, Jacob Robinson, by the way, keep an eye on 47. I think he's, is he wearing 47? That's what Huff's wearing, so it's a different number. But Jacob Robinson, JAKOB, Jacob Robinson, he's having a good camp at corner too, so he's another name to watch, another young guy. So that's another one that's another one to watch as well. So that's what's going on as far as the corner spot is concerned. So that's the defense. And again, I'm going to flip over to offense, but you can still ask me questions about defense. Yeah. By the way, yeah, I was just talking about CJ West. Dude, CJ West was ridiculous. And I'm just talking about the drills that we could see with the not only the 11-on-11s, but just the one-on-ones. Nobody could stop him with one-on-ones. Nobody. And I'm including Pooney in that. Pooney was like, what? And Pooney was killing people. And then all of a sudden it was like, who's 99? He beat Pooney. I mean, it was just like, this dude is ridiculous. Jedi, they're off to a good start. Like I said, we'll see when the pads stop popping against other teams. But today, you got to say that it was a good day, especially for CJ West and MYKEL Williams. They had really good days today. So defensively, good. Offensively, mixed bag. JAUAN was out. JAUAN Jennings was out. And so, what may happen? I was thinking about this today. Isaiah Hodgins is on this team. I'm not saying he's going to set the world on fire, but he's a guy that was a veteran and has experience with the Giants. Russell Gage probably made the best catch of the day. He's wearing 84. He caught a ball right in front of me that he ran an out pattern and made a great catch. The official called him out of bounds, but he landed on his butt. And as John Madden say, what is it? A butt equals 2 feet. 2 knees equals 1 foot, but a butt equals 2 feet too. And so he was in bounds. And we all just looked at each other and said, I don't care what the official says. That's a catch. And he made a nice catch. Who else? When Robinson comes back after the DUI, he's been really good in this camp. And I know that, his career high, I think, in catches is 31 catches. But, remember, Kansas City, the Rams, he's a solid receiver. Whenever Ayuk's back, et cetera, et cetera. But let me give you one guy today. And I'm jumping ahead of Brock is hot. So I'm not going to, JAUAN's out. And I hope, and I said this morning, I hope that a heel does not equal an Achilles. All right. Wash your mouth out with soap, Lund. I hope an Achilles does not equal I hope a heel does not equal an Achilles. Sometimes it does. It did with Durant. It did with CMC. But I hope in this case, because we're going back to OTAs now and it's continuing to give him trouble, And when this is just my reporter instinct, when people are being quiet about something, like Kyle didn't want to talk about it at yesterday's press conference, and he was kind of just standoffish and quick about it. And now all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, this goes back to OTAs. Like, I hope it's nothing, because we all know what's going on at receiver right now. There's lots of problems there health-wise. And so, look, early in the season, especially if this Jennings thing is something, they're going to have to trade for a receiver, not just any old receiver. They're going to have to trade for somebody. They may have to give Amari Cooper some money or somebody like that to get through if this is a deal with Jennings. But they have a Hodgins. They have a Russell Gage. I'm not saying that's going to like blow you away, but these guys have had some success in the league. And then I just wanted to watch Watkins today, the young guy out of Ole Miss. Runs a 4.37, was impressive in shorts and OTAs. And I just focused on him, whether he caught the ball or not. He did make a couple of nice catches today, but here's what was impressive. Off the line, all right? So early in camp, even without pads, he was kind of getting jammed a little bit. And I don't know if he was talked to or whatever the case may be. But today, he wasn't straight lining off the line. He was kind of giving you a little bit of a wiggle, and nobody could touch him. So he's wiggling off the line, and then he ran a couple of crossing routes. Remember, like the Patriots used to drive you crazy with those, or Kansas City does it with Xavier Worthy. And he's so fast that you can't catch up with him. And so he ran a couple of underneath routes. I didn't hit him on him, but I watched him do them, and you can't catch him underneath. And so I could see him with a quick shake and then boom, right across the middle, and you're not catching him. A linebacker could try to pick him up, not happening. You know how Kansas City runs that when they need short yardage? They did it in the Super Bowl with 𝐸 Rice on a key play on that final drive. Sorry to bring you back to that, but it was a shake and a cross. And it was, they do those rub routes and just boom, right to 𝐸 Rice, and it was near midfield, and they made an easy first down, like it was like a 3rd and 3 or something like that. Maybe it was a 4th down 3, whatever it was. But it's that kind of a play, and he's got really good quickness. And then he caught a nice ball when Brock went right and threw it back middle, which he shouldn't do, but he did because it was practice. And he made a really nice catch on it. So he made a couple of nice catches, but I was watching more of his release and his speed and how he uses his speed, and he might be something. So watch Watkins, the rookie at Ole Miss. He made a couple of nice moves. Look, somebody's going to have to step up among the core, because we know that Ayuk's going to be a minute. Pearsall looked good today, made a couple of nice catches, including a slant in which, he ran after the catch, probably would have got hit. But again, even in pads, they're not tackling to the ground. So he made a couple of nice plays. He looks like he's moving well. But if this JAUAN Jennings is something, they're either going to have to make some kind of a move for somebody you've heard of, or if they don't do that, then Hodgins, Gage, Watkins, somebody's going to have to stay up. Nair is a guy that a lot of people like. He made that catch in camp the other day. He's 6'4", 220, went to a few different colleges, ended at Nebraska, went to Texas, started at Wyoming. And his last year at Wyoming had 12 touchdown catches. He's 6'4", 220, runs a 4.4 flat, was the second at the combine, the total athletic score, which they take all those different drills you do, and then they combine the score. He was the second most athletic receiver at the combine, but didn't have great numbers, had some problems with his hands, and ended up blowing out a knee at Texas, ended up at Nebraska last year. It was okay. I think he caught like 34 balls, but made a really nice catch among 3 players the other day at practice. Kind of got a little bit of pub out of that. So look, they got a lot of guys in camp. They got to get some guys to step up. We'll see, but I hope this JAUAN Jennings thing isn't something. New Daddy Brock was really good at camp today. Looked really, really good. Not a lot of balls hitting the ground, so he looked really solid today. And then really good catches. Gage, I told you about. CMC, I'm going to show you in a minute. Robinson's just really solid. The new kid, James, out of Oregon, really like. Kittle made a catch that you can see online at Niners.com, 49ers.com. Probably would have got caught if it wasn't, he can't tackle to the ground. But the thing I'm going to talk to you about is everybody's just like nationally. This is just nationally, not locally. So I'm driving home, and I'm listening to a radio station in Seattle, and they're coming up with this corny topic that is in the NFC West, who was the best addition? Who was the best addition? So they're going through all the different teams and the best, who was the best addition by each team. They get to the 49ers. And the woman on the show says, I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit, and I'm going to say that the 49ers' best addition was Christian McCaffrey, because they get him back, and if he's healthy, and I was like in my car, and I'm screaming at my radio like a moron, and I go, He's not a new addition, and he's healthy. And I don't know why nationally they're talking about it and all these different, like I've heard all these different places saying that if he's healthy, he's healthy. I'm telling you, he's healthy. I know, and I get it that it's an Achilles and it's an if and it's a this and it's a that. But let me just show you I don't know, I've probably shown you 10 highlights from camp. Here's another one. He's healthy. I feel bad for 46. He's healthy. I mean, that's a hell of a catch. All right. So I'm just telling you, I don't know. Looks pretty healthy to me, but what do I know? I'm just saying he's bursting through holes. I know they're not tackling all the drills, everything. I know that Kyle gives him days off, but he does that every single camp to save him from himself. He said that yesterday in the press conference, but look, CMC is healthy. I mean, I'm just letting you know. The guy is looking really, really good. Is he going to be the guy he was, a year ago after they played in the Super Bowl against Vegas, and he was basically the running back that Saquon Barkley was a year ago? I don't know if he's ever going to get to that level. He's 28 years old. He's getting to that, that place where everybody's, he's going to be 30. If anybody's going to, push back father time for a year or two, it's probably going to be him, but you never know. And I get it. And I understand why other people are looking at him going, you never know, but I'm just saying. And, with Guerendo on this team, I think James is a really nice runner. James reminds you of, he's one of those runners, and I'm not saying he's Barry Sanders, but he's that kind of size and he's thick. And all of a sudden, because all these big linemen, he just squirts out of there and you're like, where is he? And he runs low to the ground. So there can be guys who run upright. He's not tall. He's like 5'8", 5'9", and then he runs low to the ground. And he made a nice catch today, by the way, that had people oohing and on. So they've got 3 really good running backs, do the Niners. And even though Christian wants to play every single down, and they're better when he's in there, it's almost like a Steph Curry situation where you're like, look, Guerendo is a nice back and can catch because he's a former receiver. And James can be a guy who I really like James. And I think he can be a guy that as a third string guy can be there. So there was a reason why we forget Jordan Mason was traded to Minnesota. They like their stable of backs and they always find backs. So look, I love McCaffrey and I wish he could play every down, but they're going to, as much as they possibly can. And I know Kyle's obsessed with him too, but they're going to give him some more rest this year so that they can keep him as long as they possibly can, as many years as they possibly can. But he is healthy. So just letting you know. Did we miss anything today? I went through everything on the chalkboard. Do you have any questions, comments, or thoughts? Because I know I want to get you to that game so we can see what 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐽 wearing 88 is all about. But I wanted to make sure that I gave you a pretty good feel of what happened today. So if you got any questions, comments, thoughts, hi, Law of Awe. The Pinnock presser was cool. Good choice. Going to be good. Seattle, they call us transplants. Pinnock was really cool today. He is a very mature, smart guy. They need leadership on defense, and he'll give it to them. I really like him. I hope he can play. He's a good special teams guy. They got a ton of good special teams players. I just hope he can play in the back end because I've said this a lot. I really think that they need an adult in the room on the back end of the defense. And right now they have a lot of young guys. And Demo is an adult in the room. But I think from a safety position, like a couple of years ago, they did that during the season. They did it during camp, and I think they might need that again. So what else? Anything else here? Hi, keeping the faith. You don't have to thank me, man. I'm just going down and watching football. It's really cheating. Yeah, dude, hit me up. Hit me up, man. And I'm you know me. I'll do whatever. I love doing this stuff. You know that. Yeah, Beal's big and fat. By the way, Beal made somebody whiff during the one-on-ones today. I'm trying to think who it was. Total whiff. Let's see. Yeah, he's look, man, he's around the ball a lot. It's just now it's a matter of settle down, break down, make the play, right? I mean, that's just what it is. Like break down, make the play, settle down, oh my God, I'm here. Make the play. And right in camp right now, he's around the ball and he's making plays. Whereas, but again, games are different. We're talking about practice. So if during the game he can do those things, we might just be cooking with gas. So that's it. Anything else today, man? Really good stuff today. A lot of fun. Like I said, DLINE, CJ West, at least for one day, man. If he can bring that, woo. No Ben Barch quite yet. He should be back in the next couple of days. Hi, Francis. Next couple of days, a Ben Barch sighting. So we should see him very, very soon. Like I said, the biggest concern right now is what's going on with JAUAN Jennings. That calf, don't like that. Especially like wide receiver, man, is like, keep your fingers crossed. Because, I mean, you get Ricky back and then you lose JAUAN. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. That's the biggest thing to be thinking about right now. Like I said, CJ was awesome today. Just tell you right now. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Just a quick recap of what happened today. First day in pads. And again, just to give you a quick recap on that one, that dude right there. Let's see. I killed 1, 2, 3, 4 linemen today. Yep. 2, 3. Yeah. I think I sent 4 to the hospital today. That was CJ West. He was awesome today. So that is the big story of the day. All right. Tomorrow morning, by the way, I got to tell you this. I got a big guest that I'm saving until Friday, and I've got to tape the interview tomorrow at 9 a.m. So I know we're jumping the show all over the place, and I apologize, but tomorrow's show, being Tuesday, is 10 a.m. tomorrow. So 10 a.m. we'll do the show tomorrow. We'll recap everything from Niners, Giants, and whatever else breaks out. 10 a.m. for the show tomorrow. And because I've got an interview that I have to pre-tape at 9 a.m. tomorrow. So keeping you up to date on Niners stuff. We'll do it at 6 p.m. every weeknight to keep you up to date on everything Niners. Everybody have a great night. Remember, questions, comments, thoughts, or if you missed anything, or if you think I missed anything, right on. Put it right underneath here. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, John Lund Unleashed. On X, I will post those things with full audio. So if you want to hear like the music and Chris Kusarek yelling, at John Lund Radio on X. And I'll put that Weston Collins and I'll put that MYKEL Williams where he's like grooving and everything, but then there'll be music and it'll make a heck of a lot more sense. So I'll put that at John Lund Radio briefly on X. Enjoy your night. Tomorrow, the show at 10 a.m. Make sure that you're subscribed, get those alerts on, and please give us a like before you get out of here. Have a great night.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!